What's going on, guys? K-Pine here and welcome back. And in this video, I'll be featuring a strong team you can run in the Retro Cup. Oranguru lead, Shadow Walrein safe swap, and Primeape as the closer. Oranguru is an extremely strong core breaker in this cup, and in those neutral matchups, you'll either win Switch, which the backline loves, lose Switch but get shield advantage, again which the backline loves, or soft lose the lead, therefore still giving your one backmon that doesn't want to see it a lot of play, just in case it gets lined up to it later. Needless to say, this is an ABC style team that has a lot of good synergy with each other. And with that, let's get right into the battles. Alright, getting to the first battle, we lead Oranguru into Gastrodon. Fantastic matchup for the Oranguru as we do have access to double super effective Trailblaze. And even better, my opponent is staying in. So here we're going to overfarm, we're going to throw on good timing, which is after 5 confusions. As you'll see, my opponent went for the catch there, which we don't allow to happen by throwing on good timing. And now we get to fire off back-to-back Brutal Swings against this Arctibax. Brutal Swing, not a very high damage move, especially when it's non-stab, but that doesn't matter as we are able to get that damage off against this Arctibax. And then come in our Walrein. I could shield this Dragon Claw and then farm all the way down and leave healthy with a lot of energy, but just in case they're baiting with like an Icy Wind, I didn't want to shield an Icy Wind, so I let that go, knowing I would still survive the Dragon Claw, which they do go for, and leave with basically back-to-back Icicle Spears to fire off at the Gastrodon, where it forces them to waste their energy if they want to deny that second Icicle Spear from my Walrein. That they do, and here I come in with Primeape. I'm going for an aggressive Karate Chop down, seeing if I can get it before they reach an Earth Power. But this is only a Body Slam. Body Slam, a very poor move now, so I know I can survive it pretty easily, even though Primeape's fairly glassy. And in comes a Talonflame. So now all we need to do is make sure we get off both of these Rage Fists, which we are able to do. Second Rage Fist does land, and now I can swap into my Oranguru and just commit to confusion here. I don't need to throw any charge moves, because if I do, that's just giving them 3 turns of fast move damage. And in a match like this where my health is so low, I don't want to waste any turns for fast move damage of my own. So here we're just going to commit to a fast move beatdown. And as you'll see here, I'm not going to get off another confusion's worth of damage, so instead I do decide to throw a Brutal Swing. Why? Because that's 1 HP of shielded damage from them. And that 1 HP of shielded damage might have been the difference there in putting them in farm down range or not, but either way, we do farm them down and the Talonflame, and we were able to take that one. GG's. Next battle, Toxapex Lead. My opponent stays in, throws 1 Poison Jab, and then swaps into their own Oranguru. I don't have a great answer for an opposing Oranguru, but since we are up energy here, I'm perfectly fine staying in this matchup and just taking switch advantage. They'll land a Brutal Swing of their own back. I fire off my Brutal Swing right away. I don't want to play to the CMP tie. I don't want to risk losing CMP here. So I'm just going to fire off my Brutal Swing for the KO, but it ends up getting a shield from them. And getting a shield from them is perfectly fine, because with my Oranguru really low, it can't really deal with that Toxapex as well as I want it to anymore. But what can deal with that Toxapex really well is an Energy Lead Walrein. Up all this energy, we will be able to make 2 Earthquakes against the Toxapex, guaranteeing that at least one of them lands. That is if my opponent brings the Toxapex, which they do. So no baiting here, we are going to fire off this Earthquake right away. Earthquake does land, and now they're not quite in Icicle Spear range yet, but they are, so I will have to go for another Earthquake. And here, my opponent has to go for the Sludge Wave to KO. I expect them to go for the Sludge Wave just because it's the optimal play, as a Brine won't KO. But they go for the Brine, and shielding that bait feels so bad, because otherwise, I would have been able to get off that Earthquake for free without giving up my last shield. And in the back, they have a Dragapult, which getting their final shield with the Icicle Spear right there is huge. That allows me to come in with my Primeape and just go for the straight Rage Fist to ramp up this damage. First one will land, and that's massive damage against the Glassy Dragapult. And those boosted Karate Chops do so much damage against the Dragapult, which we bring in our Walrein is in 1 Powder Snow range. We farm them down before they farm us down, and we're able to take that one. GG's. Next battle, Oranguru against Charjabug. Now this is a massive core breaker for the team, but you play it out by coming in with your Walrein and throwing an Icicle Spear right away. You do outpace to an Icicle Spear before they reach a discharge, either force them to give up their first shield or getting some nice damage onto that Charjabug to make it manageable for either your Primeape or Oranguru later in the match. I do give up a shield, just because even if they do bait with an X-Scissor, the next discharge will be 3 away. They would be 2 off their next X-Scissor, but that next X-Scissor won't KO, and we will still reach to another Icicle Spear. So perfectly fine with us shielding right there, even though it is a bait. And in comes a Shadow Gator. I do build up to the Earthquake, shield their move, and then build up to the Earthquake to go for Icicle Spear. And then I go for a double Icicle Spear. I'm not sure my opponent wasn't too familiar with Shadow Wall Rain counts, didn't recognize I was 1 off the Earthquake, or if they knew I was at the Icicle Spear and just wanted to preserve Wall Rain and just want to preserve their Alligator, make it as healthy as possible, since after all it is a Shadow Wall Rain with an Icicle Spear. But they make a very nice play coming in their Charjabug to CMP tie my Oranguru right there to the next move. But I can come in my Primeape and get massive energy advantage by playing to the CMP tie of their next move with the Rage Fist. Down goes the Charjabug. We'll see what their final Pokemon is here. My opponent's taking a little decide. It's actually the Feraligatr, and we're 2 off the move. They're 2 off the move. Primeape wins CMP. Now we have a double boosted Primeape against whatever they have in the back, which is a Quagsire. We pace the same. We get to the close combat at the same time as the Aquatail, and double boosted, this will be more than enough to take out the Shadow Quagsire as we overcome an atrocious lead in the Charjabug. GG's. Next battle, Oranguru into Dunsparce. Pretty neutral lead here. Oranguru does win this in the 0 shield scenario, which is very nice because it means your Wall Rain won't have to face it in the back. They go for the Drill Run. You want to throw after 5 confusions here if your opponent lets you throw first, but if they throw first there, you just want to throw 1 confusion in the move because you don't want to consistently be getting caught in that cycle reset there. So Trailblaze does land. That's another thing. You want to go for the Trailblaze first because you will survive enough to make 2 moves, and going for the Trailblaze and then boosting up your Brutal Swing damage is a lot better than going for double Brutal Swings, especially when none are boosted. They come in with a Diggersby, and I didn't want to swap out there. I probably should have swapped out into my Shadow Wall Rain, but seeing that they had a Dunsparce Lead and Diggersby behind it, they were extremely weak to Primeape. So I didn't necessarily want to bring in my Primeape and switch lock it, but coming in with Wall Rain here and not letting them get up all that energy either force them to switch out to then put the Diggersby on my Primeape later, or they stay in and it's an advantageous matchup like they're doing here. So in hindsight, definitely would have been much better for me to save my Oranguru around for sack swap later and just come into my Wall Rain right away. And in the back, they have a Serperior. Icicle Spear does get the shield from the Serperior, and this is going to be an extremely close matchup. They land that Frenzy Plant, does so much damage, 2 more Karate Chops, and then the move to maximize fast move damage here. Karate Chop, or Close Combat, a ton of damage onto the Serperior. They reach a move. If this is an Aerial Ace, I do survive it. It is the Aerial Ace. In comes the Diggersby, and 1 more Powder Snow is enough to take them out, as they did not have a move. Very close one there. GG's. Next battle, Arctibax Lead. Here I stay in with the Oranguru, but what you should do and what I do in future matchups is I swap to the Wall Rain right away, because by swapping right away, you will outpace to an Icicle Spear before they reach a Dragon Claw, as well as it forces them to make some tricky decisions in any swaps or catches of whatnot, like if you're to bait out, say, like an Annihilate. But my opponent, they stay in for a little bit and take that chip to store all the energy because they have a Milotic. You know what? Fair play. You're running a Milotic in the Retro Cup to hard beat. I don't even know what you're looking to hard beat in this cup. Maybe like another Arctibax, Wall Rain in this case. Can't even be mad. It's a fair play. Here, this is only still a Surf, so I'm going to let it go. It does land. Go for the Trailblaze. I don't think I can throw 1 more Confusion because I'm pretty sure that Dragon Claw that Dragon Tail would KO, but Trailblaze knocks out. I wasn't expecting to do that much damage to the Milotic, but it does. And in the back, they have a Miltank. So this is going to be a very, very close matchup right here. I do expect my opponent to full send right here, so I do shield, and they do full send the Ice Beam nuke. And you see this? I throw one more counter than a close combat. That was a terrible play by me. This matchup was just played kind of poorly with the Arctibax Lead all around. I should have definitely loaded up more energy onto my Primeape there before I threw the close combat to take him out, because then I would have been able to reach the back-to-back Rage Fists against that Arctibax, one to strip the shield and the other one to get the KO. So what was a very winnable match, we unfortunately play it poorly and my opponent takes that one. GG's. Next battle, Talonflame Lead. Pretty neutral matchup here against the Talonflame. You would load up energy and fire off a Brutal Swing after 6 confusions if your opponent lets you get there. If they throw the move first, which they most likely do, you'll just throw one more confusion and then the Brutal Swing. Let's get some nice chip into Talonflame, and then you will outpace the next Brutal Swing before their next fly, either taking them out or forcing their first shield. If your opponent throws one more Incinerate and then the fly here, they will take out the Oranguru, of which you can then come in with your Wall Rain to get a nice farm down. But since they threw right away, I decided to save my Oranguru for sack swap later and instead get up an energy advantage with the Wall Rain. But my opponent has the same idea when they bring in a Miltank, and that is just such a unfortunate simul swap there by us both, as Wall Rain gets absolutely bodied by that Thunderbolt. The good news here is that this is just farm for Primeape. We will tank one move, which is the Body Slam. And here we're just going to go for the Karate Chop down. Can't get it in time before they reach another Body Slam, so I will swap and catch the move onto my Oranguru. But now this is perfect farm down range for the Annihilate, for the Primeape, excuse me, as they have a Shadow Gator in the back, and this is just game over. I can go double close combat there, or I could just go triple Rage Fist. First one's let go, second one gets the shield, third one will take out the Gator, and all that energy we got from the Miltank is coming in handy right here, as down goes the Gator, 2 cross chops take down the Talonflame, and then down goes the Miltank as Primeape completes the sweep. GG's. Next battle, Oranguru into Cresselia. Slightly negative lead for us, as 2 Brutal Swings aren't enough to KO, but 2 Moonblasts from a Cresselia are. Interestingly enough, they swap out of that advantageous matchup into a Dunsparce. I'm like, great, I get to bring my Primeape in on it. But as soon as I bring my Primeape in, I'm like, wait, that was a good lead for them. They're swapping out into a Dunsparce. This has to be a fighter bait out to free up their back Mon. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. At least my Wall Rain avoids the Dunsparce, so we'll see if my Wall Rain can have more play later against whatever their back Mon is. First close combat gets shielded. Second one does not get shielded as we go for the knockout move there. We get 1 Rage Fist. Do we reach a second? Nope. Those Psycho Cuts just do way too much, and it's a Furfrou in the back. And here, first of all, yes, a Furfrou. But I'm so stunned and shocked by what I'm seeing on the screen. I see another normal type, so I'm thinking, oh, you know, maybe it's like a Licky Licky, roll out Licky Licky, or a Miltank. No, it was a Furfrou. And in that moment, I throw 2 more confusions. And as you'll see here, that not only do they hang on with a sliver of HP, but that leads to them getting to the double Grass Knot on the CMP tied to my double Icicle Spear. And if I just swapped after 1 confusion, I just straight up outpace. And then my Wall Rain's still healthy and around that the Crest has to throw a Grass Knot at. And basically I would take this match. But the darn Furfrous, man, just throw you off guard and can't even be mad at that. Just like the Milotic earlier, you're bringing that. You're bringing a Furfrou. Just, you know what? Fair play. You deserve the win. GG's. As down goes the Oranguru. Next battle, we lead Oranguru into Drifblim. This is a fantastic lead for our team because we don't even need to put the Oranguru on it. All we need to do is just make sure that if we stay in with the Oranguru, we win switch so we can put the Wall Rain on it. Or in this case, they swap out into a Licky Licky. I can put my Primeape here. And from this point on, this match is kind of over just because both the Oranguru and the Shadow Walrein have an extremely advantageous matchup against that Drifblim, of which both or one of them is guaranteed to get onto that Drifblim. But they let the Miltank go, come back in with the Drifblim, and they're not going to be able to get the Astonish down before I reach 2 more Rage Fists. First one lands, second one KOs them. They have a Dunsparce in the back. They decide they don't want to play anymore, and they concede. GG's. Next battle. Another Drifblim lead, but this one is Shadow. And now my opponent's actually going to stay in here. So you know what? I'm going to just farm up on energy, let them throw this Icy Wind, and then see what they do. I would throw 2 more Confusions and then the move here for good timing. But my opponent throws 1 more Astonish, waits a turn to try and catch, but we don't let that happen. We come in with our Primeape right away. I will shield because this is a Shadow Grass Knot. Primeape's Glassy will do a ton of damage, but now I can overfarm substantially to the back-to-back close combats. This forces my opponent to not be able to shield, or they'll have to give up both shields. But also storing all this energy, back in comes the Blim. Now I can get off a Rage Fist to get their first shield, and with all that energy, I can now go for a second Rage Fist to get their second shield, of which, if they do shield, I can combo play with all that stored energy on the Oranguru to take out the Blim. See what they want to see, what their third Pokemon is, which we will not get to see, as the second Drifblim user in a row concedes the match. GG's. Next battle, Dewgong Lead. Positive lead since we do have access to Trailblaze. My opponent swaps out into a Superior, and here, Walrein loses to Superior in the 0s, but you beat it in the 1s and 2s, right? Superior got a 2 Vine Whip advantage from me throwing that Confusion, and with that 2 Vine Whip advantage, Shadow Walrein still wins the 1s here, as long as they don't Aerial Ace bait you. But they Aerial Ace baited me, which means they're now going to outpace to the second Frenzy Plant. And I'm like, you know what? I'm fine letting that go, just because I do have a Primeape behind it, which I don't necessarily need switch advantage here, because the Oranguru or the Primeape onto the Dewgong is fine. But my opponent, even though they outpaced, they ended up going for another Aerial Ace bait. And that's perfectly fine. That's actually great, because it allows me to keep switch or alignment however I want, or get their final shield, which is even better. So we get their final shield, and they have a Charjabug in the back, so it makes sense why they swapped out now to try and get a proper alignment. But Primeape does not care. As long as I'm throwing on good timing, 1 Karate Chop in the move, we will reach a Rage Fist here. And once you look at this Rage Fist damage, you realize, you know what, I don't think a boosted Rage Fist will be enough to take out the Charjabug. So instead, we play to the CMP tie of the close combat. Close combat, bang, takes out the Charjabug. In comes the Dewgong. Maximize the Karate Chop damage before we go for another close combat. This is a boosted close combat against a Dewgong. It will be more than enough to KO, and that's a good game. GG's. This is a very fun team to run, made even better by the fact, as I said earlier, they have very good synergy with each other. And if you don't have the Shadow Walrein, don't worry. Really, any ice type can work in this position, like a Dewgong or an Arctibax. Regular Walrein, I'm a little bit more iffy on, just because it's not as good as a safe swap as the Shadow is. But a Dewgong or Arctibax should be able to do the job just fine. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, please drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Love to hear what you have to say. And with that, I'll catch you in the next one.